Hey y'all, it's Casey, and welcome to my first train simulator video on this channel. Um, I initially wanted to start with something that I knew very well, like the North Jersey coastline, but that line sometimes just takes forever, and lately I haven't had the time to play that particular line. I'm also not the best computer to play it on. I'm doing this on my laptop. My voice might be low a little bit because my girlfriend's asleep next to me, so I'm trying not to wake her up. Right now we are at Willesden Junction, and we're doing a West London Line shuttle train. And I say shuttle train because it only runs between Willesden Junction and Clapham Junction. Most of the trains go between Clapham Junction and Stratford. Alright, that's the cue to go. Next stop, Shepherd's Bush. Oh god, that sounds a bit rude. Oh god, I'm turning into Cyrus from City London Hacks. So, I've never been to Great Britain before, but I have a major appreciation for their railroad system because it's very big. It makes the US look like a joke. And one of the coolest things about, the city of London per se, is that London has all these different rail lines that go in and out and through it. All different companies, because they privatized the companies. A lot of people don't like the privatization and whatnot. I've been paying attention for a while, ever since, all the stations and stuff like that. Right now we're on an overground train. As I said earlier, this is basically London's answer to not being able to run underground trains on national rail tracks. So they created a national rail franchise called Overground, took over Silverlink Metro, which was a hyper local commuter rail service in London. It was a lot like the Staten Island Railway. It's basically an overgrown subway. Still kind of the same today. Stations are very close together and whatnot. Reminds me of SEPTA a little bit as well. Or Long Island Railroad, because the stations on Long Island Railroad are also pretty close together. Especially the further you go into Nassau County. Though when you hit Sussex, it just starts going different ways, and it gets really rural in certain areas, and other areas have beachfronts and rich people, Hampton shit, I am tired tonight, but I just had the train driving itch, as I like to call it. Earlier, I did a run on this line. Actually, I did a round-trip run on this line from Stratford to Clapham Junction and back, just to get an idea and feel of the line, as well as a feel for these cars. And one thing I can say is the Class 378 that I'm in, it's a pretty solid train. And one of the coolest things I like about this particular line is that this line has a switchover point between Third Rail and Pantograph. Kind of similar to the New Haven line at Pelham Station. Now, I have the New Haven line in the game, and I have done that switchover flawlessly because in the game, it make it a little bit easier to switch between the two modes. Here, you gotta really push hard. And the reason why I chose to come this way was because the power change is in this, is closer in this direction. Matter of fact, we're not too far away from it. You'll see a overlap period where you see certain sections of third rail as well as overhead wire. we have to put the pan down and then put the shoe up. And then put the third rail shoe down, because the third rail shoe connects to the electric rail, and that makes the train go forward. Kind of similar to what the wires do, but, you know, in a more cleaner form in a way. At the same time, you also have a lot of risks when that comes involved. Now, as we coast around this little curve here, that little train line coming in on the left is the Southern Main Line to Milton Keynes Central. Shortly after that junction in the other direction, it merges with the the West Coast Main Line, which is London Northwestern and, you know, the remaining Virgin franchise in Great Britain. Because Virgin's East Coast became London Northeast Railroad when Branson didn't want to renew the lease. And I don't blame him, because recently he's been focusing his attention on America's private railroad industry, and of course he swooped right in and took it. America's first privatized railway, well, not the first, but one of the first, is called Brightline. And Brightline is a fairly new intercity service to America, especially because it's the first privatized, running on national tracks. The interesting thing about that particular line is just, you know, how interesting it is. And there goes that overlap period I was talking about. Because it's like not too far away from here. So Brightline got taken over by Richard Branson, and now it's part of, you know, the Brightline network. And it's going to be an interesting thing to see the trains expand around Florida, and seeing Florida have its own, you know, state commuter rail. Now, the only reason why I haven't switched power over yet is because I want to get past this junction right here. Now, I learned the hard way after running out of juice, as they call it when you lose power. You gotta hold down the buttons in order to make the power change happen. Frame rate drop. Bad frame rate drop. Come on. Come on, ducky. There we go. At least we're in the 60-mile-an-hour zone now. I could speed up a bit, because some of these speed limits are fucking agonizing. Alrighty. Now, we gotta put the throttle to 0. And then we have to put the reverser in neutral. Otherwise, this is not gonna work. Now, the pan's down. Shoe down. Alright. It says switching to third rail. Oh, here it is. There we go. The power change took a little longer than expected. On the other way up and back, when I did the round trip the first time around, the power change only lasted like a couple of that's why. I'm still in neutral like an idiot. I do not recommend driving a real train in real life being as tired as I am right now, because this is the only reason why I'm making amateur mistakes. but I just had that itch. Okay, so we're coming up to Shepherd's Bush up ahead. Oh my goodness, I can't say that with a straight face. This kind of reminds me a lot of Long Island Railroad because of the third rail and the yellow paint job on these trains. Though recently I saw a new updated paint job for these trains, and now they look like angry yellow jackets. Like, it looks like, you know, it's different looking, I'll tell you that. I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, why does that overground train look like it wants to sting me because I got a little too close to its nest? I fucking hate yellow jackets. I hate them, man. I can't stand them. They're worse than anything in the world. Shepherd's Bush. That's good enough. So this is Shepherd's Bush right now. We're waiting for the doors to close. This is the thing that I was saying about the Long Island Railroadness of these trains. Alright, the doors are closing. The interesting thing to note about this train is that this particular one that I have has the 5-car train logo on it, which most of them are now 5 cars. That was when, you know, they were advertising it because the line was getting extremely crowded. Oh, that was perfect. No, I don't think that son of a bitch stopped. Another thing I'm not quite a fan of these trains is how delayed the warning tone is to leave the station. Right now, outside my window, it's snowing, but it's like one of those cute, like walking in a winter wonderland type snows. It's not coming down hard, but it's coming down enough to make an ambiance. Sorry for, like, that's a big word. It's just grew up with a Haitian family, so I know a lot of French and stuff like that. This one's gonna cut it very tight. I have to do this real fast. Alright, Kensington Olympia, connect to the district line. And mind the gap between the train and the platform. West Brompton, next stop. That's the delayed warning tone to let you know the train was the train doors were closed. One of the cool things I like about this train is that it has both an air horn and a whistle. And the whistle, of course, is to London Underground standards. And if you don't know what London Underground standards are, basically the whistle in Thomas the Tank is the same as the ones on the London Underground. Sounds like Thomas a little bit, huh? A lot of people don't know this about Thomas the Tank, but Thomas the Tank is actually a portrayal of the Metropolitan line, which was the first London Underground line to open. And Annie and Clarabelle are London Transport coaches. So technically, Thomas the Tank is a London Underground train. Of course, he's painted blue. I'm not 100% sure, but if I remember correctly, somebody told me that the Metropolitan line had a very distinct, like, dark purple scheme, and that's why it has that color scheme on the map. And I heard the district line, because it had a green color scheme, is the reason why it's green on the map. They were competing companies that eventually made the cut and cover lines of London Underground. For those of you who don't know, the London Underground's a lot like the New York City subway. You have two separate types of trains, and you have two separate types of infrastructure. You have the tubes, which are the small rounded trains, and then you got the rectangular normal looking trains that run on the Metropolitan line. Metropolitan, Hammersmith and City. Quite a few others. And the interesting thing to note is that, you know, the Metropolitan District and all the others, you know, cut and cover trains, they go around London, while the tube lines, like the Victoria Line, North Line, and others, they go through the heart of London because they were built, you know, in those deep little ore tubes. I'm not gonna lie, they look pretty interesting. I actually think they're pretty cute, those trains. But at the same time, you know, that presents challenges to a lot of people. Me and my girlfriend and boyfriend always joke, I have a boyfriend too, so, me and my girlfriend and boyfriend always joke that, you know, I'd be the only one who doesn't need to mind their head when getting in the train, because they're both over 6 feet. West Brompton. Imagine if this train was called, you know, Compton. And then Easy E was standing on the platform going, cruising down the street in my 6'4", chopping the bitches, slapping the hoes. My grandma got on my ass about that when I did it that one video. Why are you cussing in a video? One thing I am also not a big fan of is just how odd, these sounds are. Like, a lot of them are supposed to sound like, construction work going on in the background, but it's clearly looped, and after a while, your brain notices a pattern, and then you start getting annoyed by it. Ah, the frame rate suck. Let's hop back in the cab. Next station is Imperial Wharf, which is the last stop north of the Thames. I think the only other train that I know that personally does a kind of service like this is the Staten Island Railway. Because a lot of its stations are very close together. It has a very metro-like type of thing. Matter of fact, it uses subway cars, like full-blown subway cars, but, they have little modifications for them just so that they can get around as a commuter rail car and not a subway car. And MTA is also very anal about you referring to Staten Island Railway as a subway, because, to them, it's like the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, and I get it, it used to be a mainline railway and whatnot, but I think it's time to cut the cord, dude. It runs like a subway now, just with very infrequent service. Every 20 minutes is not frequent service, at least for that region. Over here, it works because, I live in southwest suburbs of Pennsylvania, so I know the area very well. And it's different here, Coming into Imperial Wharf, I'm blubbering on. I'm not going to do most of my train simulator videos with commentary, but I will add it from time to time. I'm going to be very honest, I'm a little dysphoric about my voice. Even though I know there's plenty of women out there that have deeper voices than me. Couple of girls I dated had, like, man voices, and it was weird because, like, people were thinking they were the one who were trans. Alrighty, and we are ready to go. Next and final stop will be Clapham Junction, Platform 17. So as I was saying earlier, like, I feel like MTA needs to cut the cord with the Staten Island Railway and the FRA, because at this point the North Shore line's pretty much abandoned. It's not coming back as a train. It's coming back as a BRT in the future. Might as well just cut that cord and make it a damn subway line. Up the service. Very soon they're going to get R211s anyway, so hopefully open gangway ones too. Oh, there's another train coming. Gotta watch our speed here because this bridge is a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. I love this bridge though. It is just so beautiful. This is nice. Okay, I love this. This is what I would love to go to London for. One of the things I would love to do whenever I go to England is Clapham Junction. Because Clapham Junction, you can literally put your camera on and just leave it running and just capture like so much crap in 1 hour. And it's a great place to be. I heard it's also very friendly to rail fans over there. Like a lot of the train drivers and stuff wave. Sometimes they'll blow a horn or two. If they're really nice, sometimes they'll, like, you know, peek their head out the window and say hello. This is the stuff that I love about England, is that people are so friendly over there. Especially in London. You would think London, big city, people are, like, shady. No, people in the big city in London, they're very friendly. And that's one thing I like about London. I need to get to know it a little bit more. Very soon I'll take a trip over to England. I have never left this country yet. Okay, I think we're going to leave the Southern Main Line here and take that right. Are we taking the right? Nope, we're going straight. What is that to the right? If you know what that line is, drop it in the comments. I don't know. I'm an American girl who doesn't know poop about the trains in this area. Other than what I've seen in videos. Shout out to Jeff Marshall. Shout out to Quarty Afro. Whalen 22. Southern Railways fan. Big Turbo fan 22. I think if I got your name wrong, I'm sorry. You guys are basically my mentors on British railway systems. And I appreciate the work that you guys put into your videos, each and every one of you, and I thank you for that. Helping an American girl like me figure out what the hell is going on in the UK with your vast railway system, because here in the US we don't have anything close to this. Like, I would say Long Island Railroad is the closest you'll ever get to this. And even that, after a while, doesn't get as busy as this does. I know I made a lot of comparisons to Long Island Railroad and Staten Island Railway, but honestly, this is what it reminds me of. This is what I'm familiar with. If any of my British friends are watching this, guys, if you ever go to America, ride the Long Island Railroad. That is my biggest suggestion. It will be a nice little reminder of home. And it's also, you know, very frequent service. There's, you know, multiple main lines on the Long Island Railroad. Everything converges at Jamaica. Jamaica is one of the best places to go in rail fan in the country, in my opinion. I've actually never fanned at Jamaica, but there's a reason for that. I kind of have a sentimental reason of why I kind of don't want to go back there. But, you know, don't let that deter you guys from going back there, because I think it's a great area. It's a great train station to, you know, fan. Just, you know, check it out. If you can, if you have some extra money, ride the air train to the A train. No one's going to say nothing if you ride it. Just don't, be careful with the filming. I wouldn't say film, but, like, don't film. But just be very careful. Because sometimes they get a little anal about people filming the air train, and that's understandable. You know, say airport, and that's also New York City. New York City had 9/11 a couple of years, like a decade ago. So just got to be careful with, you know, filming on the air train. My suggestion is, if you do film the air train, do it stealthily, or don't do it at all. But it's a good way to go, you know, between the Long Island Railroad or the E train to the A train, which is in South Queens, and that could take you into Long Island. Into Far Rockaway on what used to be Long Island Railroad tracks that were sold to the New York City subway in the 50s. And that's an interesting line, because it is set up much more like, you know, a Long Island Railroad line than a subway line, but it is something I highly suggest checking out. The A-Train Far Rockaway line and the Rockaway Park Shuttle train, which connects to the A-Train at Broad Channel. Now that I've nerded this program up with New York City subway info, let me end by saying I love the London Overground, I love Southwest Railways, I love Southern Railways, and I definitely love Great Northern. That's my favorite railway in London. I love the Moorgate Tunnel, especially with its interesting and somewhat dark and morbid history. You know, Goth Girl's gonna like a morbid history about something. Believe me, Moorgate Station is haunted as fuck, and I kind of want to check that out for myself one day. With all due respect to the 40-so lives that passed away in that accident, you know, it's not to be disrespectful or anything, but, you know, I do find things like that interesting. And, you know, may those people rest in peace. Till this day, it's an unsolved mystery of why the accident happened. The driver just didn't stop the train and just slammed into the wall. And today, it's no longer part of the London Underground. It is a Great Northern commuter rail line, and it runs the local trains to Wayland Garden City, Lentworth Garden City, and Stevenage. They currently use the oldest trains in Great Britain, the Class 313s. They're just as old as our SEPTA Regional Rail Silverliner 4s. Ladies and gentlemen, Clapham Junction, final station stop. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. Everybody who has subscribed to this video, please give a like, give a comment, subscribe to this channel if you're just watching for the first time. There's going to be more train simulator videos in the future. There's going to be more trains videos in the future. There's going to be more stuff. My commuter railway, Bridgerissa, which is my little personal creation. Check that out. That's the trains railway. I'm going to try to bring that into this. Have a nice day, folks.